everyone, it's EJ from mydesign.com, and today we're going to have a little bit of fun with spline dynamics and springs. With the combination of those two things, I achieved this kind of look and this kind of effect where you have objects dangling off of strings, basically. And my string I made out of a string of pyramid objects. So let's just dive right in and I'll show you how to get that kind of look. So we're gonna have, this is the object that I'm gonna have dangling. It's one of my text edge effects, bevel edge fonts. So we have our object already and set to go. Gonna turn that off for now. And first we're gonna need to have our spring that we're gonna actually need to dangle that text off of. So how I've found to make a good straight line is by using a helix and just turning down the radiuses and bring down the subdivision to say 10. We can make this height a little bit higher, do 600, and we're going to make that editable. And you can see that we have a string with, or a spline with 10 subdivisions now. Alright, so now we need to rename this string, and now we need to apply dynamics to it because we need to get it moving around. And first I'm going to actually put this in a null because I just found it easier to grab control of this null and move the spline, the string around as a whole, and if you want to animate it later. So that's just something I do in my workflow. So let's add some dynamics to this, and we're going to go to hair tags and choose spline dynamics. So right away we just have a spline that drops, and that's the same exact thing that would happen if you applied a dynamics tag to any object. It just falls. So what we need to tell it is what is this string going to connect to, and we're gonna see that in the spline dynamics tag you have an option to fix your point, kind of like with the cloth tag, and you're gonna do the same exact thing. So we want this to hang from the very top point. We're gonna hit set, and right away it doesn't drop anymore. In fact, if you now choose this null and move the null around, you're getting some dynamic action going on, but it's looking really jagged and wiggly and not exactly what we want. And how we fix that is by changing the type of spline points we have. And I've found if you use a B spline, if we move this around now, it's looking pretty, it's looking nice, it's looking exactly like you would expect it to move and look like if you actually had a real piece of string that you're messing around with. So that's looking the way we want it to look so far. We can actually now throw a sweep NURB on this with a circle profile, so we can visually see our string. Let's bring down the circle to, let's say, 5. So now I can actually, let's throw a texture on this. So now we can actually see it. So now again, if we move the null around, now you have a good visual reference of your string. Alright, so now we need to bring back our object in that we need to dangle off of the string. We're going to try to visually match up and connect the two. Alright, so now we need to tell this E that it needs to dangle off of this. And how we do that is first we need to add a dynamics tag to the letter. And that's good. And it's just dropping exactly like how the string was dropping when we didn't tell it what it was connected to or anything. So Now is where our spring comes in. Under dynamics, bring the spring, and you're confronted with these options of object A and an object B. So basically, what object is going to be connected to the one end, what object is going to be connected to the other end. In this case, we have the top of the object, which is the top of the spring, and the bottom object that's going to be dangling off of the bottom of the spring. So already we know we need to stick the B object in here, and we're actually going to attach it with an offset. And right away you can see that you have this, let me actually bump this up. You have a visual reference. It doesn't render out, but you have a visual reference of what this spring is going to look like. And you can see that we actually need to bring this up in the offset to actually make it look like it's working the way we want it to. Now we have to connect our string to the E. So how we're actually going to do that is go to your constraint tag, and it's the same thing where you set a point, but this time you actually set it to an object, and that object's going to be that E, and we need to select not the top this time, but the bottom point of the string and connect it to that E. So we hit set, and if we hit play again, got all kind of craziness going on. We still have one more thing to do. We still need to set that A object, which is that string. But we don't want the center of mass again. We can do offset again, or we can actually choose a point selection. And the point selection that we're going to want is the very top point. So if we go set selection, so we have that top point selected, and we're going to use that point as the top of the spring. So we're going to throw that point selection in there. If we go and hit play again, still acting all wonky. So obviously we need to still mess around with some settings. First thing we're going to mess with is the rest length. And what the rest length is how long is this length of the spring going to be. So you can see as I bumped it down, the spring is going much lower. So now we can really start just tweaking these options in this offset to kind of see it's kind of rotating weirdly off that. We need to kind of visually line it up to where we think would that center of the letter is. So you see that it's kind of lining up in the middle there. Let's go back. So it's rotating a whole lot, and we don't want that. So what we're going to need to do is go into our force of the dynamic tag of the letter and bring the angular dampening down. So it's kind of slowing down a little bit. And you can see our string is connected, but it's our spring that is just not set up right yet. So sometimes you need to give it a little bit more slack, or maybe it's actually too much slack because it's over springing. So we still need to bring this down a bit so it rests at the bottom, and so this string is fully straightened out. So we adjust this rest length a little bit more, and you can see that it's kind of dangling, not at the very top of the center of that E, so we still have to kind of play around with the offset here so it rests evenly there. So now we're getting pretty close to making this look like it's, you know, believable that this is hanging off there. But of course we don't just want it to just kind of sit and hang there. We want it to fall. So to do that, we just bring up the letter here, and since everything is connected, including, you know, with the spring, and the, you know, the splines are looking at, or the spring is looking at these splines and everything else. So once we move that up, now it falls down. So that's looking pretty close to what I initially showed. And the nice thing is that say if you wanted to come in from an angle, you want it to kind of swing back and forth, just move the letter over there and initiate the dynamics, and there you go. Another thing to keep in mind is by adjusting the, you know, rotation and everything, the dampening on the dynamics of the letter or whatever object you have dangling from it helps to kind of tame or increase the rotation. So if you want a whole ton of rotation, you know, leave that at 0, but it's, you know, if you want to just kind of dampen that, and you can also use follow rotation to really smooth out that angle. You can also use rotation to kind of slow it down. That looks kind of weird, so maybe you don't want that kind of going on. You can also do the same with the string. So if you don't want it going all crazy like that initially, you can jack the rubber up or down. If you do it way down, it's just like looking real rubbery. You can also do the stiffness. You can adjust the drag. So the drag kind of is like a dampener for the string as well. So if you see that without that drag, it's going all crazy. This kind of brings that in a little bit, so it kind of smooths everything out. So let's actually bring this back over here because we want our text to just fall. Let's hit play. So you have to watch when you place this. If you have it directly in the center, that's when it's going to start tumbling over itself. So you kind of want to have it offset a little bit, like in front or behind. So you kind of have to mess around and kind of see what starting position works best. So right there, I mean, that's looking pretty close to what I got to before. It's nice, smooth, not a lot of crazy rotation going on. You can add a little bit of bounce if you want to. You can turn the dampening down so it bounces a little bit more. Okay, so we got our E going pretty good. We can actually ease up a little on the linear dampening and the angular dampening. The E is not landing frontwards as I'd want it to, so let's just rotate that a little. Alright, now we got it facing the right direction. So like I had here, I had these pyramids, and I also had another letter interacting with the other. So we're halfway there. So say you want like chains, or you want like a chain effect, or like I have here, I just put some pyramids. Basically what you can do is you can actually clone along this, so it's not just a string, it's you know, like a dog tag kind of. You can have some some spheres to make a dog tag kind of thing. So let's make that really quick. So basically all you have to do is go get your cloner, drag the sphere in the cloner, set the mode to object, and just throw the string in there, and the cloner will clone along that spline. So if I bring this down, you can kind of see what I was talking about. If I turn off that sweep nerve and change the count to even, bring that count up. So you kind of get this ball chain kind of effect thing going on. We see that it's not exactly resting. It's resting at an angle, so we still need to adjust the offset a little tiny bit. There we go. So that's looking pretty good. So now we have one letter. We just need to make the other letter now to have it interact dynamically with. And it's pretty simple. Just need to bring all these, put them into a null. I'm going to call it the E. And so that's all still intact and good to go. And we're just going to duplicate that, put it J. And all we need to do is just kind of reconnect everything. So let's turn this guy off and just do E2 because we just have another E. E2. Just rename everything so it's just have everything organized. Okay, so let's turn this off as well. So basically we just need to clear out our constraint and our spline, and we just need to make sure that everything's connected right again, and make sure that's E2, set that again, and for our spring we got string 2, that's good. Point selection, because this is actually still referencing that one, so the point selection, so make sure that's point selection 2, it's E2, good. Let's make sure this cloner is string 2, that's good. Now, so there we go. And actually it's already interacting with the other E. So if we stop this, bring this E over a bit, bring it right next to it, and hit play. Let's actually bring, so we get a little bit of swinging to the letter. I'll just bring this over here. Bring this E over this way so you probably have it swinging both ways. So there you go. Got 2 letters swinging off these kind of ball chain dealies and looking pretty dang close to what I showed initially. So there's a ton of different things you can do with this further, and I'll actually be showing that in my next tutorial, how to kind of reverse this to kind of get like a balloon kind of coming up and not falling down using the same kind of technique. So I'll see you in the next part of this tutorial. Talk to you later. Bye.